welcome all Rotarians and guests to the Rochester Rotary Club, which is the best cloud space in all of Rochester for fellowship and service. My name is Wayne Hodges. I serve here as the Rochester Rotary Club president for just a little bit longer. Will you all please rise and join me in paying respects to the flag by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the United States of America
and
to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will you all please join me next in reciting the Rotary four-way test of those things that we think, say, or do? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And will it be fun for all? Jeff, I've got you down for doing the invocation.
Dear Lord, please bless us, keep us well, find peace in this country again, find security. And just sometimes there's log jams. Sometimes you just need to take those logs and build some bridges. In our Lord's name, amen.
Outstanding, Jeff. Thank you. Moving on, for any of those who are guests, if you would go to the chat feature at the bottom of your screen and click on it and tell us a little bit about who you are. We'd be happy to acknowledge your attendance. And if you're interested in learning more about us, get you the information that you seek. Our 15th meeting sign-on. Let me see, I know who, it was Andrea Walker. I was watching for it and I saw it pop up as Andrea Walker. I haven't heard Andrea speak yet, but I do recall that she was the 15th.
I'm here.
Okay, well, congratulations. You are exempt from any fines today.
All right. It only took me Zoom to finally be on time.
Well, we won't go there. Let's next move on to Happy Bucks. I've got a Happy Buck for today. I actually have a haircut appointment for later this afternoon. And I know it's the same beautician as my wife uses. And rumor has it that she and her mother have bribed the beautician that they're going to strap me down and shave my beard at the same time. So if you see me skinned alive next week, you'll know why. Let me see what other Happy Bucks we might have. This is from Tom. He says, everyone looks good. Hang in there. Amy Converse says, good afternoon to everyone. Lori Grimes says, Dr. and Sheena are joining us from the Rochester Community Schools. Well, welcome. And then Dr. Shaner says, hello from Rochester Community Schools. Vince Matina has a Happy Buck because he had a great Father's Day with his family. Tom Naveau says, hi, Lori, good to see you. Tim Duncan says, ditto, Vince, I had a great Father's Day as well. Jeff Whitby to everyone, who is Mom's iPad? I gather he can't find that in our directory of members. Linda Eastman says she's delighted to have a haircut and color appointment at 7 a.m. on Thursday, March 4th, was her last haircut and color, and she's way past due. And well, Jay tells us he still thinks you look great, Linda. Stuart Signer, he's happy and was able to spend his Father's Day with his dad. I'm envious, Stuart. Jerry Gross, $20 Happy Buck, and remember us for Marilyn Chetz. Anyone else? Moving on, we have 3 member birthdays this week. Roger Roller, is on the 21st of June, which of course was, I believe, yesterday. Annette Warner, yesterday, and Dick Spees on the 25th of June. Will you please join me in singing happy birthday to our 3 Rotarians? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you. $5, please. Amy Converse wishes everyone a happy birthday. Club anniversaries. Dave Archibald joined our club 18 years ago on the 25th of June. I'll bet I wonder if he was late for that meeting or not. Moving on to our announcements. Bill, are you still on the line, or do you want me to do it? Oh, Jeff says that Dave Archibald was on time, but he didn't show up until July. Bill wanted me to remind everyone that John Somerville has created the capability on our website to indicate if you're coming to the picnic at Rochester Rotary Park, at the Gateway Park on the 21st of July. That's where we're going to commemorate the gift of the gazebo that Bill has been telling us about and showing us pictures of. And Nino will be delivering our meal. And that'll actually be our first meeting where we're going to try meeting face to face. And we need to know how many people, simply to judge the spacing as well as to make sure we bring enough food. So if anyone's got questions about how to do that, please reach out to John Somerville, and John can help you get registered. Linda Eastman asked, if you can bring grandchildren to that event. I think as long as you tell us you're coming in advance, so we have enough spacing thought out, and that we've got enough food, Linda, I don't see why not. Personally, although technically that's Ron's decision, not mine, because that's in July. Ron, do you concur? I can see your mouth moving.
Wayne?
I can't hear you, pal.
Hey, Wayne?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I just want to let everybody know that if we're going to follow the governor's recommendation of 100 people, our major donor has requested that we have enough space for 20 of his friends and guests and family. So that puts us down to 80. So it would be nice to have as many people as we possibly could, but I think we have to give Rotarians a chance first and see how we sign up. And maybe the last week, if we don't have 80, then we can open it to guests.
That seems reasonable to me. Ron, what do you think?
I think that's good.
Okay.
All right.
John, is that feasible?
Yeah, I can cap it at 80, and then we can reassess when we get closer.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, John. And thanks
Thanks,
everybody.
Bill.
Sign up early.
Okay. Moving on with our announcements, we had a board meeting last Tuesday night, and we had received a statement from Rotary International with regards to some of the turmoil that's going on in our country right now. And we voted as a board to adopt the same statement from Rotary International, and we'll be posting it on our website as well as doing a press release. But we thought it was very straightforward, very simple, and I'll read it to you right now in case you have difficulty reading the screen, but it's a statement from Rotary International. At Rotary, we have no tolerance for racism, promoting respect, celebrating diversity, demanding ethical leadership, and working tirelessly to advance peace, are central tenets of our work. We have more work to do to create more just and open and welcoming communities for all people. We know there are no easy fixes and that challenging conversations and work lie before all of us. Rotary strength has long been our ability and commitment to bring people together. We will tap into that strength now as we stand with those who are working for peace and justice. Rotary will do our part to listen, learn, and take action to ensure that we continue to contribute to making positive change. You'll be able to find that on our website as well as it's on the RI website for those of you who would like to look at it. Moving on, one of the things that we do get to do from time to time is induct new members. And today we have the opportunity to formally induct a new member that's going to be an honorary member. It's David Dulio. David is a professor of political science department and director of the Center of Civic Engagement at Oakland University. He teaches courses on campaigns and elections, Congress, political parties, interest groups, and other areas of American politics. He has published 12 books, and 2 of his most recent being Michigan Government, Politics and Policy, and Cases in Congressional Campaigns, Split Decision. He has written dozens of articles and book chapters on such topics ranging from the role of professional consultants in U.S. elections to campaign finance. He is also a member of the American Political Science Congressional Fellow on Capitol Hill, where he worked in the U.S. House of Representatives Republican Conference for former U.S. Representative J.C. Watts from Oklahoma. David has been the faculty advisor of the OU Rotaract student organization since 2017. He finds it rewarding to see the students take control of their group's direction, especially in their service-oriented work. He is looking forward to being an honorary member of the Rochester Rotary Club so that the club and Oakland University can strengthen their important bond. He lives in Beverly Hills with his wife Adrienne and 2 daughters, Abby and Sophia. He enjoys playing golf on OU's 2 golf courses. If anyone is looking for a game, just let him know, but I've also heard you might want to bring your wallet, just in case. So, David, is your microphone open?
It certainly is.
Well, I welcome you on board, and it's been a long time coming, but you've been chosen for membership in the Rochester Rotary Club because you manifest those qualities of head and heart needed to serve Rotary and impart the message of Rotary to those with whom you come in contact. I charge you to judge yourself by the Rotary 4-way test and the things that you think, say, and do. I wish to impress upon you that you are being admitted not only to the Rochester Rotary Club, but also to the worldwide association of individuals dedicated to the Rotary motto of service above self. By virtue of your membership in this club, you will be welcomed into all the fellowship of any Rotary club in the world. The honor and privilege of Rotary membership carries with it duties and obligations. As an honorary member, you will not be expected to participate in all of these, but we want you to be aware of them and encourage you to think about participating where you can. You'll be expected to attend the club's meetings regularly, actively participate in the club's service, and offer your knowledge, talents, and energy to the club in its efforts to serve our community. I now ask all Rotarians to please rise. David, on behalf of the members of the club, I formally admit you to the membership of the Rochester Rotary Club. Fellow Rotarians, I commend to you our newest member, David Dulio, and charge all of you to welcome him and to engage him in our projects, fun, and fellowship. Let's give David a warm welcome and applause.
Congratulations.
David, did you want to say anything?
Just very briefly, Wayne.
We can
Thank
barely
you.
hear you. Can you turn your volume up?
Certainly. Way up now. Is that better?
Better.
I'll be real brief, Wayne. Thanks very much for the invitation, the kind introduction, and the warm welcome. I can tell you that my dad was a Rotarian back many years ago, and I remember going to meetings with him. So Rotary's been present with me for a long, long time. And so I appreciate the opportunity to be part of the Rochester Rotary Club. I've been to a few meetings, as you know, previously in the connection with the Rotaract group and with the Oakland University affiliation with the club. And they've been wonderful. Everybody's always been so nice and welcoming. So I appreciate that very much and look forward to more interactions in the future. And as you said, to strengthen the bond between Oakland University and the Rochester Rotary Club. So I'm looking to it and getting more involved. So thanks very much.
Thank you, David. Thank you. You know, one of the other pleasures that we get is to honor other Rotarians. Paul Harris, Rotary International's founder, once said that perhaps dreaming is not so bad if one dreams good dreams and makes them come true. In Rotary, we make dreams a reality through the extraordinary projects and activities here at home and around the world. These projects would not be possible without the generous support of Rotarians and friends of our foundation. The Rotary Foundation recognizes those individuals or clubs who contribute $1,000 or more annually to the annual fund, Polio Plus, or any approved foundation grants by inducting them as a Paul Harris Fellow. Today, the Rochester Rotary Club honors 2 current Rotarians into that Rotary Foundation as members of Paul Harris Fellows. Paul Harris Fellows gifts enable Rotary's worldwide network of dedicated humanitarians to implement projects that address pressing needs in the communities and around the world. Because of the contributions, children are vaccinated against polio and other diseases. Adults and children alike can learn to read and write. Women are given microloans and vocational training that enable them to support themselves and their family in a healthy and dignified way. Teachers and school children have access to toilet facilities and clean drinking water. Scholars are able to study ways to prevent maternal and child mortality. Professionals from around the world convene to discuss strategies for resolving conflict and fostering peace. Today, we recognize 2 new Paul Harris Fellow members for enabling Rotary to make an impact on individuals, families, entire communities. On behalf of them, I want to offer my sincere appreciation. You know, as our club grows and takes on more projects, it actually becomes more complicated to manage. In order to keep it simple, especially for a volunteer organization, all growing organizations must organize things better. Imagine trying to serve on the board of our Rochester Rotaries charities with no idea of an annual budget on the income or the expected cash flow. How do you project what the club or the charity is going to be able to do that year? Well, Steve Ehlers stepped forward and took on that responsibility and worked with each of our fundraising groups to help them organize. And yes, it required some changes to be made because no longer was each activity completely separate and distinct. They were now all linked into a common goal of generating what the charities board was thinking about committing to for that year. And so Steve Ehlers, Steve, I want to welcome you. I think this is your first Paul Harris, and I'm very happy to see that you get awarded that. Our chair of our club foundation, Ernie Schaefer, will be sending you your pin and your certificate. And please enjoy it because you've earned it. There's a lot of work behind the scenes required to help us get organized. The second member, each year our members volunteer to raise money and serve on projects, and they get to learn by doing. But if you think about the community that we all love to live in, Rochester Hills, that excellence doesn't just happen. That excellence comes about because a lot of people work very hard in a common direction to make it happen. Well, the same thing is required in a volunteer club. The lessons learned by each group on an activity, they need to be passed on to their successor volunteers so that it makes everyone's job simpler and easier. It's been said, if it's everybody's job, it's nobody's job. And so, it does require that we have things to be organized and things to be defined. And with that respect, for the past few years, I haven't seen anybody work harder than Ray Dorr at helping get us organized as a club and helping us better understand what does it take to keep things simple? What does it take to learn from our experiences and pass that information on to those who are succeeding us? And Ray, I believe this is your third Paul Harris. And again, I congratulate you and our chair of the Community Foundation, Ernie Schaefer, will be passing that on, the pin on to you, probably by mail, because we cannot yet meet face to face. But again, I want to personally thank Steve and Ray, because both of them did yeoman's work and something that really, isn't a lot of fun sometimes, because it requires a lot of extra effort and a lot of discussion, and it asks people to, sometimes change the way they're doing things. So with that, Ray and Steve, I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Much appreciated.
Thank you all.
Well deserved.
Rotarian of the Week. I can't believe it, but that's me. Thought about this long and hard. And, to me, the essence of being a Rotarian is being a good humanitarian. And I don't know, and we got a lot of them. I really had to think through. But I don't know of someone who is a better humanitarian in our club than Jay Eastman. I find that Jay and Linda too, they continue to be right up there with everybody else in terms of setting the bar for the behavior that all of us should be trying to emulate. So Jay, it is with great pleasure that I bestow upon you the Rotarian of the Week Award for this week. And even if you're not online, Jay, you can't run. You can run, but you can't hide.
I'm here, Wayne.
Oh,
Yeah.
you finally got on? I thought you'd have to go over and beg Linda to let you on.
Well, I will treasure this for the coming week. I really appreciate the kind words, and it's a very special thing. Yeah, I know, and really, really appreciate it. And we'll have to put it in our windows since I can't put it in the office for a few more days. But really do appreciate it.
Well, Jay, we truly appreciate you, and I would have to say it's a special thing for a special guy. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Chief Shettenhelm, you in the mood to find us?
So looking over things, I tell you, you're really kind of missing the boat here if you're not here early, because you learn a lot about the club, a lot about what's going on. Obviously, if anybody's doing business with Jeff Whitby, just a little bit of caution, because apparently Jeff Whitby gets our $5 open mic fine for conducting business while on Zoom and sharing everybody's whoever he was working with, it's good to know that everything's going to be okay with theirs, with their real estate deal. Bill Ebinger obviously is open for some medical advice. I know he was working with Dick Spees. I think he was trying to get Dick to rub his belly and make sure he was okay and stick his tongue out. And I don't know what other vet things he was trying to get him to do, but obviously you can get a little veterinary human exam, on the pre-meeting. Also, I appreciate the fact that we're, honoring Jay and that, Jay's such a great man and all that, but, no one probably heard that Jay sounds like he maybe had a little bit of the swears earlier. And so, Linda kind of ratted him out on that. So fortunately, he didn't have the same Jeff Whitby problem, so we didn't have an open mic to hear it. But we also learned about the S word, in the pre-meeting. And so we learned that we're not supposed to call people stupid. So I won't call any of you stupid. Also, I learned in the early part of the meeting today that apparently, we've all know that John Somerville has this great control over everything that happens on Zoom. And apparently he must have picked out who of us can sing and who can't. Because I noticed when we were singing the happy birthday that some of us were muted and some of us weren't.
Trash.
So somehow he must know who can carry a tune and who can't. So kind of watching out for that in the future meetings. One thing we got, obviously we can't go by without talking about the coronavirus. So just keep in mind it's a $3 fine if you don't know what region we're in. Also, if you don't know what phase we're in, because, that's how we're keeping track of things now up in the governor's office. So just in case you are asked on the street, we are in region 1 and we're in phase 4. We hope to go to phase 5, eventually get to phase 6. So just so you're all up on your phases in your region. If you're out and about and you're out shopping and you're not wearing a mask, shame on you, that's a $5 fine. If you get out of your car and you walked less than 5 steps to get back to your car to get your mask, that's only a $3 fine. If you were between 5 steps in the door and still turned around to go back to your car, that's a $4 fine. But thank you for going back and getting your mask back on. If you've been brave enough to travel out of state, stayed in a motel, hit the beach in Florida, those are all $5 bravery fines for being brave enough to do that. Sounds like we have a few people that still haven't gotten haircuts. And thank goodness for Zoom. We know who you are. So if you haven't gotten that done yet, that's a $5 fine. Noticing driving around town that the fireworks tents are going up. So if you can't do without buying those things that pop, fly, or scream, that's a $5 fine. If you plan on considering your neighbors, their pets, and young kids before you fire that stuff off, that's a good thing, and we thank you for that. No fine for those people that are considerate. This weekend, we had the big drive-up graduation for Rochester Community Schools. So if you were there, congratulations to you and your graduate. It was a really big show. It really went off well. Lots of cars. We filled up all kinds of parking lots over there at Borden Park. Huge video screen, lots of cops, lots of volunteers, bright yellow shirts directing traffic. So if somehow, some way you were that one guy that pulled into the lot, got behind the line of all these cars, pulled in, got yourself parked in front of the big video screen, and then said to the police officer, "What's going on here?" You get a $5 fine for having no idea what's going on. Let's see, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. So $5 if you still had to cut the grass or wash the car or do other household chores on your special day. Today in history, Mafia boss John Gotti was named the Teflon Don, if you remember. He was sentenced to life in prison on today. So if you've ever had to cook on Teflon, watch The Godfather, or by some chance woke up with a horse's head in your bed, that's a $5 fine. Also in holiday news, today is National Pink Day. So hopefully you are wearing your pink today, listening to Pink Floyd, or watching the movie Pretty in Pink. any of those things will be $5 if you're not celebrating the big day. June is International Surf Music Month. You may not have known that. So if you've listened to the Beach Boys, if you've been out on the beach, and believe me, we don't need any proof or pictures. That's probably too much for the gang to see. Or if you've had good vibrations, that's a $5 fine. June is also National Bathroom Reading Month. So now I guess we all know what you guys have been doing in there with the door closed all this time. It's also National Hydration Day. So if you have ever drank water, downed a Gatorade, or had a Gatorade shower in celebration, that's a $5 fine. And last but not least, and these are all true, you can find these on the internet. Believe me, we don't make these things up. It's World Naked Bike Ride Month. And that's only in the Northern Hemisphere. In the Southern Hemisphere, they have one in March. So, but just keep in mind, so please raise your hand if you've ever participated in that. I'm looking. But from what I hear, when we asked Phil about it, he just said, why only June? So apparently he's be out there most every month, I guess. So $5 if you haven't participated in the World Naked Bike Ride Month. And keep in mind, it all goes to charity. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Can you hear me? I'm going to assume you can hear me. If you can't, you need to tell me. Steve, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear.
You're good.
Moving on, to try and maintain our schedule. You know, within our club, we have two really strategic relationships between our club and different entities in the community. Rochester Community Schools is a critical one, in particular in support of our youth programs, and also Oakland University for our college age youth program, as well as joint activities. In fact, each of you should have gotten an email today inviting you to a literary opportunity at OU from the OU Rotary Club. And if you've got any questions, please contact William Gross on that, and he can help you get hooked up for that project where the OU Rotary actors are inviting us to participate with them on a literary project. But our second strategic partner is Rochester Community Schools, and I'm pleased to announce that David Erdley, who has been scheduling all of our speakers, done another great job and has gotten Dr. Bob Shaner to participate and basically share with us another perspective of what's going on in our community and how we're trying to cope with the changes and constraints that this COVID-19 virus is foisting upon us. So without further ado, Dr. Shaner, I will turn the microphone over to you.
Oh, thank you, Wayne. I appreciate you spending some time with us today. I too, as you can see, need a tint myself. My hair has turned white in about 3 months. Had a little bit of salt and pepper before, but I think the stress has gotten to me, and now I'm a good shade of white. So I'm gonna need to cut it closer next time. Really appreciate being able to talk to everyone today. I'd like to really start out with just a little bit of gratitude. We really have, in our organization, our community, have been supported really in an unbelievable way. And Steve mentioned our graduation ceremony on Saturday. It really was an effort that was above and beyond the call of duty, not only for our administrators and teachers that worked at it, but for Chief Schettenhelm and his officers, and Alan Schneck and his entire department at the City of Rochester Hills, the Sheriff's Department, and the support of Mayor Barnett. To be quite honest, when I called him and said I think Borden Park might be an opportunity for us to do a graduation ceremony, he didn't hesitate. He got the right people involved, the Parks Department, Parks and Recreation, the Sheriff's Department. I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but it really was a world-class operation. I don't think any parent could say that that it wasn't high quality and very professional and very meaningful and memorable. So Steve, thank you. If Brian Barnett's on here, a debt of gratitude to him. And also, ladies and gentlemen, the debt of gratitude to our entire staff at Rochester Community Schools over the last 4 months. It's really been a Herculean effort. If you're not aware of it, we were one of the first school districts in Michigan to shut down. And we did that based on some data that we collected, and our staff worked diligently with our COVID task force to quickly shift to remote learning. So really an enormous amount of gratitude as we move forward. So as you know, Saturday marked the closure of the 1920 school year. I'm going to call it the year of the white hair for the superintendent, but a lot of things to be proud of in very, very adverse conditions. But let me bring you up to speed on what we're doing moving forward. We recently mentioned to our community, communicated out that our vision for the 2021 school year was to be able to have some type of in-person instruction available. Also a virtual option if people didn't feel safe returning to school, and a continuous improvement project to make sure that we can, if we need to shift to remote learning, that it's even better than it was before and enables us to provide grading and higher expectations. So that's been a Herculean effort. If you're not aware of it, I was asked to be on the governor's Return to School Advisory Council. I'm one of 3 superintendents in the state of Michigan and the superintendent of the largest school district that's involved in that. I'm also involved in the Michigan Department of Education work group for Return to School, as well as the Oakland County Task Force. So by participating in these things, I hope to be able to be on the cutting edge of information and knowledge to help us reopen school in a safe kind of way. Equally as important is the budget situation. If you're not aware of it, it is a requirement of law for the Board of Education to pass a budget every year by July 1. It is not a requirement of the state of Michigan to pass a budget by July 1. It is a requirement for the legislature to deliver a budget to the governor by July 1, but it does not have to be adopted. So we're always on these opposite fiscal years. And this year it has really an exponential impact on us. Now, we have no idea what our instructional model is going to look like per se in terms of direction from the state. And we also have no way to predict our revenue right now because we don't have a state budget. I've always promised the Board of Education that we would deliver a balanced budget to them. So we did in fact do that. I did deliver a budget to the board last week and they adopted it with relatively large cuts in it if need be. And that's a budget that we don't want to execute, but I can execute it if necessary. We are also in the process of conducting market research to try to figure out what our enrollment would be like. Normally we use the linear regression model based on live birth county to predict enrollment. Unfortunately, I think COVID is a rather large variable in that data. So we conducted actually an EPIC MRA poll / survey in the community to help us predict enrollment and see who might be interested in returning to school and who might not be and what that looks like. So we're putting the finishing touches on that and starting to draw some conclusions and make recommendations to the board as well. So all in all, I'm very, very proud of our community. I'm very proud of our staff. There's just so many great things that have gone on, from making sure that we're feeding the community with our food service staff and many volunteers. And Steve's, that's something that he and his department have helped us with tremendously. Amy Dramer's been a big help in that as well. Just across the board, there's so much great volunteerism and so much support in very arduous times that it makes me have a great sense of pride. I am hopeful moving forward. I do believe that our staff and our community is capable of wrapping their arms around their students and moving us forward. Because of the community's support with our bond and our sinking fund, We are shifting to a one-on-one computer environment. We just bought 11,000 Chromebooks to distribute. We dismantled our labs right before the COVID shutdown happened. We cannibalized them, so we had computers to give the students that did not have them. And we handed out almost 2,000 computers and 500 hotspots early on in March. We're in the process of assessing those units and getting them back up to speed. But in the fall, at some point when we can fill our order, we will be a one-to-one district across the board. So if we do need to shift to remote learning, everyone will have that opportunity, and it'll be a lot more equitable. And with that, let me check my notes here just real quickly. Again, we wait to see what the state budget's going to look like. Our task force continues to design and pursue our vision for instruction in the fall, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody had any.
Dr. Shaner, I've been hearing on the news maybe of doing an A shift and then a B shift with kids coming into the school. Is there any truth to this, or how could you actually do that? I mean, that's like unbelievable.
Yeah, we're looking at a multitude of contingencies. People don't realize it, but we are the largest school district in Oakland County, the 9th largest school district in the state of Michigan, and we're relatively large. We're 66 square miles. So transportation is a significant cost. And not only trying to staff that. It is a contingency we're looking at. We're looking at a number of different contingencies. I'm just not sure what's gonna happen at this point. Those are very expensive options, though.
Gotta be.
And that doesn't even include all the overhead of the added cleaning and the health protocols. That's just simply getting kids to school and considering classes.
Dr. Shaner, do you have feedback data yet from the students in terms of, this has to be causing some differences in terms of who learns at what rate or how well? Do you have any data on that yet?
Yeah, I think we do. I think first and foremost, the one thing that can never be replaced is a highly qualified, caring, skilled teacher in front of kids. And I think this has proven that. We started this out with a trauma-informed philosophy that made sure that we maintained connections and relationships. We know that online learning is more of a challenge for some kids than others. And we know particularly that if you're in a situation where you may not have the support that you need at home, it's more challenging. I know from my own kids, they don't much care for it. They would rather be in school. It was kind of interesting. After about 2 weeks and the novelty wore off, they definitely missed school, and we know our kids missed school. We could even see that from graduation. The kids were so happy to see us and see their teachers. And these are seniors that were, they were figuratively and literally done in May, right? And they were still happy to be back and connecting. So we know an entirely remote learning environment is not optimal, but I do think that we've done everything we possibly can to make it as optimal as it could be. And we continue to inform that instruction so we can make it even better. If we had any control over it, we would have in-person instruction if we can just make sure kids are safe.
So Bob, your plans for the fall are all online remote instruction, no in-person?
No, we have three. We're thinking our vision right now is 3 options. Our hope is to return to in-person instruction in some shape or form. And I say in some shape or form because I've really got to wait to see what comes out from the state of Michigan in terms of budget and an instructional model. But in a perfect world, we would offer in-person instruction as close to a traditional setting as we could. And then for parents that have medically fragile or other reasons, we would offer them a virtual setting, which we're actually in the development of right now. And then if we have a spike, we will be able to shift to remote learning and hopefully with higher expectations than we did when we did it rather abruptly in March.
So you won't be following the model that's been proposed by West Bloomfield?
Well, this is my my issue with the model that's been proposed by West Bloomfield, and I would say this to their face if they were sitting here, a model without, if you read the whole article on West Bloomfield, at the end of it, they basically say they don't know how they're going to afford it or fund it. To me, that's not a plan. A plan to me is something that I can execute. So we are not going to overcommit at this point. We are going to continue to work our contingencies, continue to work our plans for instruction. And then when we have a clear picture of what we can afford and what we can put forth, we'll do that with the community. The other thing with the West Bloomfield plan and many of these plans where it's 2 days on and 2 days off, my wife and I both work, and when our kids were little, that would be a very, very difficult daycare environment. Most daycares, private daycares, you have to either be full-time or part-time, and you don't get to drop in and drop out. You have to opt, right? Well, we were full-time daycare, so even if our kids didn't go, we paid. So I think we've really got to think about this from an equity lens as well. So no, we won't be executing a plan like West Bloomfield's.
My other question is how, we're all aware of the summer slide before the virus, but how are you going to assess each student to know that they're ready to progress in the grade? Will you be doing like some standardized testing or something to make up for the gap? I know my son and daughter-in-law have been very religious about doing their home teaching, and my grandson's 4 years old, so it's not heavy duty. But some people just did not do it. They just gave up on it. So those kids are not going to only have the summer slide. They're going to have the shutdown slide too. And so how are you going to get all fifth graders starting close together for your instruction?
Well, the good news is we've always differentiated instruction, and we've worked hard on that. And we're an iReady district, so we actually do assess kids on a regular basis, particularly in literacy. Some of that remains to be seen, but I think we have a good basis to move forward. I think we are going to have a lot of unintended consequences that we're not going to be aware of until we get kids back in school. We have to weigh a lot of different risk factors, including COVID, when we decide whether or not we're going to do in-person instruction. So it's going to be difficult, and there's no way around it. It's going to require resources. Where the state has told us that we're going to get at least a $500 per pupil cut, as well as a proration this year. I'm not sure how folks would expect me to run a $185 million business with depleted resources and increased overhead. But we're going to do our very best as a team to move forward and exactly do that. Our Board of Education has been diligent about the stewardship of your tax dollars. And right now we're carrying about a 20% fund balance. And sometimes we get criticized for carrying that much of a fund balance. But just to give you an idea, if we get a $500 per pupil cut and we make no adjustments to our budget, our fund balance in one school year will be 10%. That's how much cash we would burn through. So our Board of Education, they're excellent stewards. We have a great team. I'm very optimistic that we'll be able to get through this in a strategic way that really serves kids the best we possibly can.
Dr. Shaner, any idea how long you could expect, if we have to continue remote learning, sooner or later, it would seem to me it has to have a negative impact on the social development of our young people. Any idea how long the data says before we start to see that impact?
I don't think there's any good long-term study in any of this yet. And I think one of the things that we've done as an organization is really transformed our approach to instruction from a trauma-informed lens. And I think that's helpful. But I do think, to your point, Wayne, we're going to have a lot of unintended consequences socially that we're just not aware of yet.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Shaner, I'd like to ask you about the Chromebooks. Do you give those to very young children too, like kindergarten, first grade? What grade do you start that?
I'm not sure that we would do that in kindergarten. I would have to actually get my my technology people to explain to you how they're planning on deploying that. I know they're still developing the plan. A one-to-one environment usually is 1 through 12. But I'm not quite sure what we're doing with transitional kindergarten or kindergarten yet, to be honest with you. It's been a very complex couple of months, and we're still working on that plan.
Any help on the horizon from the feds?
It's talked about. It's something we're advocating for. I don't anticipate getting any assistance from the federal government till at least October.
Yeah, I know in talking to my grandchildren, one of the things that surprised me is if they're not online connected to their friends, they don't exist. They call themselves ghosts.
Yeah.
And you know, being a kid that grew up in the farm country, I understand what that means as far as the social pressure. When you're not involved, when you're not there present with your friends, you get left out. And so I don't know what the answer is, but I would encourage us to include that in the equation that we're trying to solve, albeit, you got different priorities.
Well, the kids, the social emotional aspect, at least in our organization, is a priority. But again, we're dealing with something that we've never really dealt with before. In school, it's not like when we all went, right? The social aspect isn't the same. I think that's another thing that I've learned here. The kids are able to stay a lot more connected than we ever were when we were kids, right? I can remember being at my aunt and uncle's house and having to pick up the phone to check to see if somebody was on the party line.
Oh yeah.
You're old enough to remember that. And the kids now have immediate access to each other, which creates an entirely different set of problems and a set of social norms and challenges. So it's something we're aware of. I just don't think we've ever been able to do this at scale like we did. And I've got to again, gratitude to all the different people that were involved in this, our union leadership, all of our administrators, our teachers. They jumped right on board and continue to do so day in and day out.
Good. If there are no other questions, we're now past 1 o'clock. Dr. Shaner, I truly do appreciate you taking the time. I know that even for those of us that don't have young children in school, we've got grandchildren, and we recognize that our schools are one of the most important institutions that make up our community. And so I thank you very much for bringing this up to date. And maybe we could do this again before too long. Once you think there's some new information or something, send us a signal. We'd be happy to have you back. Because I think this is a critical one that we need to figure out how to help each other.
Yep. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, everybody. It's good to see you.
Thank you again. We will meet again next week. We will be putting together the President's transition meeting, where we'll look at the end of the year and be passing the baton on to our President-elect, who will become our President, Mr. Ron Lichtel. And with that, I'm going to close our meeting. We're going to leave the mic open for those of you who want to continue to chat for a bit, but today's meeting is officially closed.